Chapter 6. The man throws me on the ground. As agreed, she is yours, he says without a care. I can barely lift my eyes to see the hem of a blue dress. This is all too much. I finally understand. I remember dying. I am now a monster. I have been a monster for 4 days. I drink blood. I am damned, an abomination. And the people in the corridor, they were priests. I killed a priest. That boy on the first night, I killed him too. And before that, my last nights as a normal person, he did things to me. This is not a nightmare, I know it with perfect clarity, just as I know that I should feel hysterical but cannot, I should wish for death but I do not. Something in me is broken. Old age may have robbed me of my mind, eventually, but what streams my consciousness, what moves my heart now is not the spirit of a person. It is much colder. Already, the tears I shed have dried on my cheeks. Panic has receded, replaced by cold certainty. I am no longer the Ariane that danced and drank fine wine on that night, the one who suffered, fought and begged for freedom then for a quick death. I am not her. Not entirely. I am a vampire, and I want to live. I may have been robbed of the future I envisioned, but I will not throw away this pathetic excuse of a life until I fulfill this promise to myself. I am Ariane. I am my own. I will live, and I will go home. They cannot take this from me. I will not let them. Never. As Jimena said, patience and determination will carry me. Jimena. She helped me. She showed compassion, kindness, honor. Are they not all monsters? I turn my head left. There she is, her armor reddened by blood but otherwise unharmed. She looks forward like a soldier at a parade. As I look, she turns to me briefly. Long enough to see the pity in her eyes. I need to think, to evaluate. I need time. Not so fast, you old monster. You think me daft? You would have me believe Moore's servant betrayed us all and you had nothing to do with it. Both of you plotted our demise. Those are preposterous accusations, Gaspard, and you should know better, Lord Cerrone answers. All of you are too blind to see it, but I will not be made a fool. Careful, says Master, and the clearing goes deathly still. It sounds like you insulted me twice. And what would you know of honor? You hide behind a false code and vile sorceries. Oh, you believe me weak of arm, young Gaspard? Would you wager your eternity on it? You will regret those words, you decrepit husk. I accept your challenge. No magic, only our blades in us. I turn my head in disbelief to the blonde-bearded man. Gaspard, the representative for Clan Roland. Is he serious? Can he not tell how utterly outclassed he is? Witnessed by Clan Yacon, the tall black man declares in a low rumble. Witnessed by Clan Cadiz, Lord Cerrone adds. Witnessed by Clan Lancaster. Farewell, Gaspard, I cannot say that I will miss you, Lady Moore continues with a voice as cold as it is uncaring. The group moves away and I push myself up to Lady Moore's icy eyes. Well, are you going to hug the dirt like a scullery maid for much longer? I stand up before her and grind my teeth in silence. I do not know the rules that regulate vampires, and therefore I do not know how freely she can kill me. I need to make her believe that keeping me alive will be more beneficial than finishing me off. You serve me now. Yes, Lady Moore. Will I have to discipline you? No, Lady Moore. Humph. At least you know your place now. Even monkeys can be taught, it seems. That trollop, I so want to wrench off her head. Ah. So this is what it is. I can feel my own mind, twisted and corrupted like the surface of a lake, and there is something else, something deeper. When I was alive, I was prone to feeling anger, but this is different. It is like a twisted thing that prowls beneath the surface, pitiless and predatory. It is the part of me that fought those priests and took Agade by surprise, and if I release it, it will not throw harsh words. Right now, it is of no use to me. Any resistance on my part will be met swiftly and mercilessly. Mistaking my silence for complacency, Lady Moore smirks and moves away. Follow. I do, and finally take the time to check around me. We stand in the middle of an exquisite garden. The mansion dominating it might have been a sight at some point. Now, only blackened beams and collapsed walls remain. Somebody dug a path from the outside to the massive steel door at its heart. Bodies of those battle priests litter the grass, although most seem to have died in some sort of defensive line. Collapsed tents and slain beasts form a grisly spectacle somewhere at the edge of the property. I can spot servants packing belongings and coaches in the distance, so it seems some of them survived. Vampires gather around a flat circle in silence. It seems that each lord has between 2 and 5 followers who stand behind them. I want to join Master, yet I place myself behind the Lancasters. Melusan turns in my direction and smiles cruelly. I do not react. The 2 combatants enter the arena. Lady Moore takes a white band and releases it without ceremony. I can see every detail on the Roland Lord's arrogant face, his pride, his disdain, the certainty of his victory. I shall never be so utterly brainless, and thus I promise to myself to keep the beast in check. What follows is a lesson, and this lesson is not for Gaspard. It is for the rest of us. One moment the Lord stands at the edge of the circle, the next moment he is right next to Master in a perfect lunge. His black-bladed sword kisses the edge of Master's deep blue coat without touching it. Master has one hand on Gaspard's sword arm and the second deep within his chest. Gaspard's expression turns from triumph, to surprise, to pain, to horror. A torrent of black blood rains on the ground and the Roland clan representative staggers and lurches, only kept standing by Master's steel grip. With deliberate slowness, Master ignores the man's pleading eyes and releases the blade, which falls on the ground. He then grabs his throat. What follows is a moment I shall never forget. The sound of flesh tearing and bone breaking, the suction noise as the head is pulled minutely, the vertebrae revealed to the world with agonizing slowness. It takes the man 10 seconds to die in a flash of blue fire. 10 seconds during which Master reveals his true colors. He is utterly bored. This is nothing to him, just another insect that needs its wings pulled so that the other vermin know better than to provoke him. The local Master did not even warrant the satisfaction of the kill. He was such easy prey. Master turns to the silent assembly with one raised eyebrow. Lady Moore bows to him. Melusan will show you to your ship, my lord. I derive a small amount of satisfaction from the abject terror shown on the little harlot's face. Unfortunately, when Master turns to leave, I take a step forward despite myself. Master. I know I shouldn't, yet I must try. He ignores me, completely. He leaves without a word, without even a look. I don't understand. I have been a good girl. I did everything he asked. I did my best. So why? The other vampires are perfectly silent, so my outburst and the following shame are witnessed by all. When I think it could not possibly get worse, I feel 2 claws grab my neck. Lady Moore's cold breath on my ear makes me shiver. Not 10 minutes in my service and you already embarrass me in front of my peers. It looks like you need discipline after all. Undress. What? Her vicious claws draw blood and I convulse in answer. Ah. This really hurts. Do not make me repeat myself. I can only be grateful that most other vampires leave to attend to other business as I slowly take off my gown, gritting my teeth. In short order, I stand in my small clothes in the middle of the clearing, grateful that the view of my derobed body remains hidden behind a curtain of green. This is the most indecent thing I have been forced to do. I wince as a memory worms itself to the forefront of my mind. It is, in fact, the second most indecent thing I have ever been submitted to. God, why did I have to die like this? What have I ever done to deserve such treatment? Why have you forsaken me? I do not receive an answer, not that I expect one. I do not wait long. A bearded man soon reaches us. I recognize the insane blue eyes that greeted me in my cell back on the first day. He leers at me shamelessly. I try to cover myself as best as I can. Yeah, looks like Mirari knows how to pick him. I hiss in outrage and he recoils. Enough, Baduin, she is more than you can tame. The man looks at me thoughtfully, then throws me another dress, a humble apparel of white linen. I would never have let one of our estate servants walk around in this rag, and yet I treasure it, for it is the only material thing I possess now. I do believe that Lady Moore did not want me naked only so that the unspoken threat of this condition deters me from opposing her will. As soon as I am covered, we leave to join the procession of coaches and carriages leaving the fortress ground. The remaining Roland clan members precede us as I recognize the twins. It appears that the death of their leader has not affected them in the slightest. I am horrified when I see where I am led. Lady Moore turns to me, expecting a reaction, yet this time I manage to remain silent. A cage. They are going to transport me in a cage like a circus animal. Oh, I so wish to make them suffer, but I need to exert patience. Budwin has a pair of manacles hanging from his shoulder, massive objects of cruel metal, and I have no intention of letting him come anywhere near me if I can help it. Lady Moore gestures to the door, and I get in wordlessly. It is a testament to my circumstances that I am grateful that the cage is clean. Lambert silently rides a horse to my side. He pointedly ignores me, and I am only too happy to return the favor. Clan Lancaster is the last to leave the fortress grounds. Only a dozen servants are left to clean up the battlefield. Our little procession is made of 6 coaches and 4 carts including my own, and we depart in silence. Despite my circumstances, I cannot help but look around me and wonder. For the first time, I truly appreciate night in the bayou. The oppressing wet heat of summer is mercifully subdued at night, or perhaps I am no longer so afflicted by it. Sounds and smells form a vast harmony, and I spent quite a bit of time looking at strange arrangements in the leaves and barks of the cypresses, and ripples on ponds of brackish waters. Every insect and every plant hold a new fascination for me, as if I had never seen them before. I suspect that vampire vision is highly superior to that of humans to help us perform some foul deeds, and it brings me some consolation that my new senses can be used for more than just evil. It is also my luck that the path is quite muddy, else I would be swallowing the entire caravan's dust. We are in July, and night is the only time when the weather is tolerable. So, I am a vampire. I have no idea what that means. Never have I heard of such a thing. I have difficulties admitting that monsters could live among humans, moving faster than the eye can see and digging into people's chest at will without it being common knowledge. Surely, people would ask questions upon having their blood consumed. If those battle priests know of us, why not call the colonial militia and give us the cannons? I am simply baffled. There are so many things I do not understand. Truly, I am a toddler once more. Thinking on it, can I still bear children? Would I even want to? Would they not be twisted things, just like me? I abandon this line of thought. I will not give Lambert the satisfaction of seeing me cry a second time in a single night. I would also not want to ask questions. It appears that talking without leave is not looked upon kindly. My cart is at the very tail of the procession, and we advance at a snail's pace, so much that we eventually lose sight of the rest. I assume that so many carts together in the middle of the night would attract undue attention, so I am only left with a human driver and the ever-taciturn Lambert. Fortunately, the new experience of the night entertains me until we come across a patrol of 3 armed militia. They look at me questioningly. I do not wish to resist at this point. Jimena's promise is still clear in my mind, and I do not doubt that Lambert could disable him in an instant, should I try to force a rescue. I am therefore compelled to hear him explain how I am the wanton daughter of a tailor, who ran away from home after finding out I was with child, from an unknown father, no less. I apparently murdered the babe as he was born so I could continue with my depravity. The faces of the men turn from weariness, to shock, and eventually, to disgust as Lambert spins his tale. He is as good an actor as I took him for, and I know to myself that I shall never trust a word he says. We leave the patrol behind us and cross a small village. The night comes alive with the smell of humanity. Under the stench of sweat and unwashed bodies, there is a perfume of vitality that makes my jaw ache. I pass my tongue over my fangs, only to find out that there are 8 of them. They have replaced all my canines, and the outermost incisive as well. Jimena mentioned that my bloodline's appearance was unmistakable. This is certainly why. Now that my memory is clearer, the other vampires all have 4. This is grave news. It means that I must absolutely keep the sight of my teeth to myself lest my lineage is immediately found. As I ruminate, we leave the village and come upon another patrol. This time, Lambert entertains them with a tale of my murder of the old man who welcomed me to his hearth, how I poisoned him and seduced his son to steal the family's fortune. Again, the looks of horror on their face are striking, and I wonder why Lambert lies with such aplomb when there is no benefit to it. He is not even having fun. After a while, the land gradually changes, and we find ourselves next to a colonial house of massive proportions. For a while now, I have smelled the barest hint of brine in the wind, and I remember that Clan Lancaster has an interest in sea trade. I suspect that we may not be far from New Orleans, the place of my demise. Lambert opens the cage and lets me out. I follow him in silence across a grand entrance in a series of corridors. We walk past tastefully decorated rooms and a few submissive servants in blue uniform to a closed door. Lambert knocks and we go in. The room is a boudoir of good size illuminated by candles. A handful of vampires lounge lazily on comfortable couches. I am horrified, not by their number, but by their immobility. There is not a whisper of moving fabric, not a sigh. They are not even breathing. Shocked, I begin holding my breath. I am still holding it as Lambert leads me to the forefront. I am still holding it as Lady Moore stands up from a throne-like seat to address the crowd. The vampires shift their postures to show attention. I feel like I am watching a puppet show, so unnatural their movements are. I count 7 in total. Besides Lady Moore, Melusan, and Lambert, there are also a weasel-faced scoundrel, a bovine toad of a woman, a witless-looking slip of a girl with crooked teeth, and a balding brute. It finally occurs to me that Louisiana is not a land of exiles just for the humans. My esteemed clankin, the conclave has reached a favorable conclusion and once more, Lancaster has risen to the top. The successful negotiations I conducted solidified our hold on New Orleans and its boon of treasure and cattle. Our success is assured. The grisly automatons clap politely, like the obedient curs they are. This victory did not come without its share of disappointment, however. As you know, we lost Caitlin and were betrayed by Agate, may his soul burn forever. The assembly does not betray any sort of reaction. I do not believe that such a sorry lot would harbor any kind of sympathy for each other. We have received a new member as payment for a service rendered by Lord Nirari himself. As the foremost clan in this land, the Devourer has favored us with his business and we will reap the benefits for years to come. Not if I can help it. Please welcome Ariane to our loving family. I feel like a piece of meat dangled before a pack of bloodhounds. She is yet very young, so it will be up to Melusan to rear her into a valuable and productive member of our community, for the good of all. I notice the vilest and cruel of smiles on the red-headed harridan. Ah, truly, I will need every scrap of self-control I can salvage. And with this, I shall retire for the evening. There is much for me to do. The rest of them stand as she leaves. Melusan reaches my side and grabs my arms as if we were the best of friends before dragging me out of the room. I am surprised to see that I am quite a bit taller than her, but it matters not. She has me, and she knows it. This will be difficult. Chapter 7. I open my eyes to total darkness. The pantry-sized room they call mine greets me in all its misery. In truth, it is a cell, for what bedroom has a lock on the outside? Nightmare tonight. A pleasant change. I hear footsteps coming. I do not even have the luxury of privacy. I have learned much in a week. Vampires die at dawn and wake up at sunset or before. During that time, we are utterly defenseless. Sunlight kills us. Silver blades cut us deep. Fire will turn us into torches faster than one can say arson. Our mind is prone to distractions unless we hunt. In return, Our body is superior in all accounts and can heal even the most grievous of wounds, given enough time and nourishment. We do not have to breathe, poison cannot hurt us, and we cannot drown. Only the destruction of our head and heart spells a certain end. This implies that the god A may have survived his wounds if one of the priests supplied him with blood. Blood. It is the red of the journey, the energy we need to consume to sustain the parity of life that animates us. It cannot be stored. It must be consumed from the source, and without it, the predatory part of us will take over until it tastes the crimson nectar. Vampires who lose control sometimes fail to get it back. They must be hunted down like beasts. The thirst drives us. It taints every aspect of our existence. It can never be completely overcome, and it will never be truly sated. For fledglings like me, it is a daily struggle to control it, and then another struggle not to fall into torpor after we slake it. For this, we have a few tools. Vampire saliva can make the bite extremely pleasurable, and then closes the wound so that it fades at record speed. Bitten individuals will develop an unnatural loyalty for the vampire, despite themselves. Our eyes can confuse memory, though I am sure there is more to it than I was told. I have not been allowed to leave the building so far, and every night a new human is brought to me. Using Jimena's method, I have been able to stop feeding without Melusan hurting me too much. I can tell that she is disappointed, and the death of cattle would have been a good excuse for her to belittle me. The logistics used in feeding 8 vampires must be truly staggering. That is probably how the battle priests usually find us. We have a few distinctive features, such as the claws and pallor, but our fangs are usually hidden unless the grasp of the thirst gets too strong. We are not reflected by mirrors either, which I find quite silly. All in all, it seems that whoever created us meant for us to infiltrate the human world. Hunting us must be quite difficult. When I asked about the priests, Melusan became unusually tight-lipped and I had to drop the topic. I hear soft gasps. Joan is gathering enough courage to knock on my door. She does not have the submissive behavior of servants who have bowed to vampires for a long time. There is a fire in her that they have not managed to extinguish. Melusan knows this, and that is why she is charged with being the first I see in the morning. I mean, evening. If I drink her dry, Melusan has killed 2 birds with 1 stone. She is quite petty like that. So far, I have managed to control myself, but it is becoming difficult. Melusan is stopping my feedings just a little bit early. Every night, I find my self-control eroding a bit more. There is a knock on my door. Come in. The courtesy is a joke and we both know it, yet I cling to any appearance of control and every scrap of manners to keep the thirst at bay. Mistress Melusan requests your presence, Miss Ariane. I nod, not trusting myself to speak, and she leaves promptly. The scent of vitality caresses my nostrils and the thirst punches me in the gut. I feel like someone scooped my innards with a frozen axe. Nobody has fed from Joan for a long time. So it would be fine if I had a taste. Just a taste. Melusan can punish me later. I need just a tiny, tiny mouthful. Just a few droplets. No. I must not. When I come to, my hand is on the handle of the door and Joan is standing still with her back to the wood. She is perfectly silent, her eyes closed and her face lax, but I can smell the fear in her perspiration, hear it in the beat of her heart. She is doing her best not to struggle, knowing that a mere move will set me off. So close. So very, very close. Finger by finger, I release my hold and open the door for her. Only when I turn around does she leave. That was the closest call, but I should run after her and tackle her to the ground. Then dash. No. I will not. I get changed, mechanically, and reach Melusan's office. She is in deep conversation with a richly dressed man with a fetching appearance. He does not know what he is in for. I can see it from his flushed face and the scent of his arousal. To be alone with a woman like Melusan is titillating him. His mind has yet to be tainted by one of us. Pray. Melusan plays us both with a lengthy introduction. His initial frustration at being interrupted turns to pure lust at the sight of two beautiful women. I can imagine the lewd pictures his twisted mind must provide. How many indignities must I be subjected to before it is over? I have only been here for a week. A week of constant battle against myself and Meluson's petty humiliations. Finally, I am given an opportunity to embrace him under some ridiculous pretext. My hands reach around his shoulders and I nuzzle his neck. I am in the wooden cabin. One lick, one bite. Finally, I drank 2 more swallows than I was granted by enduring the pain of the hussy's claws in my neck. She drew blood. After I am done, she carries into parts unknown while I attempt to scrub the memory of his erect manhood against my belly. How I wish padded pants were in fashion. With a knock, 2 other vampires join us and Meluson resumes her lessons. What follows is what makes my predicament border on the intolerable. I have already been robbed of my humanity, now the Lancaster princess is after my sanity as well. Her teachings are a tragedy in 2 acts and 4 participants. First, she will demonstrate her knowledge of a specific topic, like the superiority of the Lancaster philosophy, with as much arrogance and derision as she can muster. While she does so, my fellow students, the bovine Charlotte and witless Sophie, will gush at Meluson's intellect and overall superiority. Praises must be properly heaped on and the princess will select a different favorite every day, who will receive her benevolence, while the 2 others accumulate scathing remarks and disparaging comments. Suffice to say, I only participate enough not to be punished. After a while, she will test our understanding with tricky questions. She has a way to slide cutting remarks and casual humiliations in every sentence that is designed to leave the rest of us ashamed. She expertly divides and conquers us, constantly pulling our group down but distributing just enough encouragement to foster a nasty form of competition. She gives her favor as easily as she takes it and does her best to keep us on our toes. I can only grit my teeth. I am less insulted by her numerous slights and more by the fact that she thinks herself smart. She can only do this because my 2 companions have the intellect of a shriveled turnip between the 2 of them. I do not know who turned those 2 brainless twits into creatures of the night. I think they should have stabbed themselves in the groin instead. And so our numbers are limited due to the difficulty involved in creating a spawn. Ariane dear, can you tell me why? Only a master can create a spawn and it takes a century on average to become one. The process itself is also taxing and will leave the master weakened for years. I am sure that you will be a master very soon, mistress. I can already feel a presence, Charlotte gushes. That's how. Quite so. Sometimes I cannot tell if you are passing by, or if it is Lady Moore. If battle priests were to bust the door open right now and set us all ablaze, I believe I would let them, and be grateful to boot. Of course, we Lancaster are always picked from the best stock. How can she say that with a straight face? I see the malevolent glint in Meluson's eyes and I can tell that I should have nodded along with the 2 stooges. Now I must endure her for a bit longer before she switches targets. Yes, and it is our duty to share the blessing of our good breeding with other bloodlines, don't you agree, Ariane? Of course, mistress, and I will forever be grateful for the privilege of your presence. I consider myself lucky to be taught by no other than you. I can feel 2 baleful glares directed at me as I apparently overtake the 2 simpletons in the pecking order. Quite so, and surely you would feel grateful to be shown such favor, yes? I nod in assent. I do not like where this is going, but I must play along. Whatever Meluson wants me to do, I will be compelled to do. My only hope is that she loses interest to pick on another. With the tragic betrayal of the ungrateful savage, we are in dire need of helping hands to manage the city. Surely you would consent to assist us, yes? I freeze. With no heartbeat and no need to breathe, we vampires can reach a state of perfect immobility, which I am displaying right now. I absolutely need to show a hint of fear, and then submission. If she guesses the truth, she might withdraw her offer just to see me suffer. I pretend to swallow nervously and flinch, before giving her a nervous smile. Of course, Mistress Meluson, I would be delighted to repay the debt of gratitude I owe you. Please, I beg you, accept this lie. I would do anything to get out of this farce of a tea party, if only for a few days. I will shovel horse dung by the cartload. I will crawl in the mud and catch frogs with my bare hands. Please, let me go. 3 sadistic smiles inform me of the success of my little facade. Then I shall begin private lessons tomorrow in order to prepare you. We would not want you to bring shame to your benefactors with your poor performance, after all. I barely managed to contain my excitement the next hour. I compel myself to look suitably worried and act more submissive than usual. Finally, I may be able to go out. Ooh. I wake up to the whispers of gossip. Kettle are a strange sort. They are unusually obedient and unnerringly loyal, yet their other flaws feel exacerbated. They backstab, plot and slander to earn the favor of creatures that will never see them as more than blood sources and bed warmers. They have their use, though. After a week of being harmless, they have started to treat me with indifference. They do not seek my favors due to my status as an outsider and rumors about my bloodline, and my lack of reaction means that they have lowered their guard when around me. And so, I have picked up quite a bit of information. Most of it disgusts me. The Lancaster vampires are a petty, vicious and promiscuous lot. Each one has their flaws, their twisted desires, and vile habits. They are all detestable, each in their own special way. Melusan enjoys breaking couples. She will track them for days, seduce and have her way with the fiancé and then arrange a public confrontation. The more violent the breakup, the better for her. Lambert is a compulsive liar who preys after young and ambitious merchants. He will deceive and scam them until they are ruined. It is only at the moment of their fall that he will display something more than his usual apathy. Charlotte is a violent bully with an inferiority complex. She enjoys breaking servants, and I am convinced she used to be one. Sophie is the wit of a boiled potato and half the charm. She does not behave too cruelly because she lacks the cunning to do so. It could be an act, of course, and I never let my guard down around her. The Weasel Man answers to Wilburn, and he is a serial rapist. Only his fear of Melusan has protected me from his attention. I surmise that he tried something on her, and she made the following lesson unforgettable. The burly, bald man is named Harold, and he has a chip on his shoulder. Every perceived slight against him eventually turns into physical punishment, and no amount of pleading and promises changes his belief that everyone is insulting him behind his back. If their continued existence is not proof that God has abandoned this world, I do not know what is. My name is Ariane. I am my own. I will live, escape, then go home. I repeat this sentence every twilight, in that small moment of peace before the thirst turns me into a fiend masquerading as a person. I say it in the tongue of Akkad, the language of vampires. I was surprised to learn that the others had to study it. I have no idea how the knowledge just slithered in my mind, and I would rather not ask. Joan knocks on my door shortly after the thirst hits. This time, I do not ask her in. Instead, I quickly send her away. I don one of my 4 outfits and get out. All my clothes look shabby and out of fashion while being functional. I look like the daughter of a family that fell on hard times, all of this to feed the image of the world as it exists in Melusan's twisted psyche. They are not even comfortable, especially around well, they are just too tight. The rotund form of Charlotte blocks the passage. Yes? Mistress Melusan bids you join her in the training room. It is time that you made yourself useful, stray. You cannot just keep living off of our generosity. Clan Lancaster certainly does welcome lowborn in its ranks. It is such a shame some of us will never rise above their previous station, I reply. Her fat jowls quiver with fury at my rebuke. Ah, but her master must have loved Rubenesque women, and been short-sighted and deaf besides. Perhaps he lived in some remote corner of Finland and she was the only woman within a month of travel. I can think of no other explanation. Instead of leaving, Her scowl turns to a smirk and I brace myself for the next inanity to be born from her addled brain. The mistress will instruct you in the way of battle. Perhaps a correction will force some manners into you. And perhaps I will need a partner to practice? I insinuate. I smile. I am thirsty and this stupid sow is in my way. Let her see the fangs. Let her remember what my vampiric siblings are famous for. She flinches and steps back when I pass her by. I may be weak, like all fledglings, but she is even weaker. She is the dreg at the bottom of the barrel. I will make every encounter a slap to her pride until she learns to leave me be. The Lancaster training room is on the first floor. If there is a basement, I have never seen it. Melusan is waiting. She is dressed in a strange outfit that bridges the gap between travel dress and armor. She is also holding a fencing sword. Sophie is already sitting on the side and Charlotte enters shortly after me. No humans. This is not very auspicious. If Melusan invited spectators, it means that she intends to humiliate me. She gives me a training sword and demonstrates proper handling and some basic moves while the two clueless twits fawn over her grace and elegance. Still no humans. I am so thirsty. I return my attention to the little princess. Watching her reminds me of Jimena's comment on the Lancaster clan. She mentioned their lack of prowess on the field of battle, and I can tell from comparing the two women that it is accurate. Melusan may have had some formal training, but she is no master. Her movements are too mechanical. She lacks the deadly grace and seamless ease of the Cadiz squire. Jimena had made every demonstration natural and effortless. After a while, she orders me to copy her gestures and I do my best to learn. This is the most constructive activity I have taken part in since reaching this den of depravity. No amount of poorly veiled insults will ruin my enjoyment. The physicality of the activity even manages to distract me from the thirst. Since I am not talking, or thinking, life is simple. I lunge, I cut, I move. I let my body and the monster within guide me. It already knows how to do it. I have but to listen and follow. Well, your posture is still awkward, but I suppose I should not expect too much from the likes of you. It seems my enjoyment was too obvious. We shall now start with a light spar and today's most important lesson. It is time for the inevitable humiliation. I just hope it will be brief, and not too painful. Melusan retrieves an engraved glove of strange design. It is pretty enough to wear at a ball, I suppose, yet the amount of metal involved makes it look like some knight gauntlet. Now, attack me, she says with supreme confidence. Should I go faster? It will make me even more thirsty. In the end, my pride will not allow me to roll over and grant her an easy triumph. I move. When I reach her, she lifts her gauntleted hand and speaks calmly. Blast. I dodge left. Something smacks against my waist and leg. I am sent flying and spinning. How? I smack against the weapon rack. Steel beams punch my side and I collapse on the floor. My head is spinning, and the pain clouds my mind. It hurts. Why fight this one? Cannot consume. Too strong. Door. Out. Pray. And that is why no matter your efforts, you will never be able to surpass me, Ariane. You were taken from mundane stock. You were never a warrior. You were, at best, a glorified peasant. I was chosen from a nobleman family and spawned by Lady Lancaster herself. No amount of time and no personal efforts will ever bridge that gap. The sooner you accept this, the better. Midge. Yes, Midge. You are still an ignorant little thing, but don't worry. I will let you witness my ascension, so long as you remember your place. I need the sweet nectar now. Need it, need it, need it. The red-haired woman sees something in my face and grabs my neck. She takes me out. I do not resist, this time. She is leading me to blood. I know it. We reach a black-haired woman. Cute. Delicious smell of terror. She knows. I smile. Tears. Beautiful. Wait, no, need to remember. The log cabin. Maybe not this time. Maybe this time I can just let myself go? Joan. No, this is a trick. The red-haired woman hurt me. I sit in the log cabin. Outside, the wind rustles the sugar canes and carries the smell of wet earth. I am safe. This is a good place. My name is Ariane. Melusen is a trollop. Something is thumping. The rhythm is too fast and dash. I pull out and lick the wound clean. Joan is unconscious and white as a sheet, but it looks like I managed to stop in time. I will not give that harlot satisfaction. If I kill cattle, it will be because I decided it. Ah, finally. Under my guidance, it appears that your self-control has improved. Even the spawn of the devourer can account for something if they are guided by a stern hand. It occurs to me that her entire misbegotten farce of a clan is so twisted that she might actually mean it. In a few decades, I shall attempt to revisit the question while skinning her alive with a rusty letter opener. And now you can finally repay us for our kindness. Ah yes, I should show my appreciation for their precious gifts. The glorified wardrobe they call a bedroom and all 4 of my outfits. I follow Melusen to the entrance. Apparently, 20 minutes of training qualify me for a soldier role. I spent that much time listening to Papa before he would even let me hold an unloaded pistol. My mind wanders. I wonder how my family is doing. They must think me dead. I remember waking up in a hospital after the first night. I was in too much pain to remember much. I think Father was there. Then that man took me from the room and dragged me to a basement. I died there, on the 3rd night. I push back unwanted memories. If they see me again, they will know. There was too much damage. I would have borne the scars my whole life. Should I even attempt it? I must. I want closure. I need to say farewell to what I used to be. Bury human Ariane's hopes and plans. Grieve. We reach the main hall and turn left to what I know is Baudouin's office. I know he is mortal, but he is not cattle. I smell Lady Moore on him. You will assist Baudouin in whatever way he sees fit. I am a busy woman and shall return to more worthwhile pursuits while you run his errands. She turns around and leaves. Curious. I knock on the door and a bored voice bids me come in. I close the door behind me and catch Baudouin staring at my backside as I turn around. I hiss softly, which is enough to remind him that I do not play. Yes? What do you want with old Baudouin? His accent is quite strange, and I cannot place it, even after hearing English spoken from Acadian and Choctaw mouths. I was sent to assist you. I do not want help from a fledgling of less than a year. This will require a delicate hand. Lady Moore herself said I could have Melusen for this task. I need to add sloth to Melusen's long list of flaws. She did mention not wanting to run your errands. Is that so? Well, you tell her to get back here, lest I tell the lady, heh? Of course, Baudouin, I shall convey your message. No, wait. He says as my hand grasps the handle. He sighs and pinches the bridge of his nose. Baudouin's office says a lot about the man himself. I am suitably impressed by the organized stacks of documents, the cleanliness and the stress on function over form. Under his appearance of a perverted and deviant highwayman, he is, in fact, a perverted and deviant businessman. Which is infinitely more dangerous. Perhaps, you will do. I can understand the pain of forcing the little princess to do anything productive. What is it that you need? I ask him. The man sits back in his comfortable chair. A young rogue by the name of André Villemain had the audacity of taking over one of our warehouses. Yesterday, he and his merry band broke in and set up camp among crates of our finest china. Baudouin waits to see if I react. I gesture for him to continue. If he needed Melusen, it means the situation needs to be resolved with a scalpel, not a hammer. Normally I would sick the boys on them and be done with it. Unfortunately, Villemain is the son of 2 rather important people and killing him would sour our professional relationships. I assume they cannot rein him in. Unfortunately, Villemain is at the age where one rebels against authority. Due to his lineage, He believes himself untouchable and flaunts his status to all who would listen. Worse, he attracted a gathering of children from good families, and any bloodbath could impact our bottom line for years to come. You need someone to convince them to get out without resorting to violence? Not too much violence, at least. He is quick to anger, and fellow immortals tend to be heavy-handed. I need a delicate touch. I also need to send a clear warning. We simply cannot be trodden upon. That is why I cannot bribe him. This will require a delicate balance. And now you know why old Batuan is troubled, lass. What can an artist like me do without proper agents to carry my will? I scoff. I am willing to try, but I require something in exchange. The cunning negotiator's eyes suddenly turn cold. And what would they be? Only general questions about the world. Despite my lessons, there is still much for me to learn. And Melusan's choice of materials is not to your liking? Let me guess, you know everything about Clan Lancaster's noble history? Since the War of the Two Roses, decade by decade. He laughs softly. Very well, as long as it is nothing too serious. You would not try to turn on old Batuan now, would you? Of course not. I smile. He swallows nervously. I believe I shall never tire of the effect the Eight Fangs have on people. Before we leave, there is a small matter of security. I am sure you understand. I am immediately wary. I will require you to wear this while we are outside. He stands up and walks to a safe. A moment later, he retrieves a richly decorated bracer from it. It looks like jewelry that gypsies would wear. All gold and bright color. What is it? A tracking object, linked to Lady Moore herself. Magic? Yes. Should you try anything that could damage me or the clan, she will be able to track you and disable you. That means our reputation too. And don't you try to remove it. Better people than you have failed. I measure my desire to get out of this filthy den against my unwillingness to be chained like a dog. Eventually, I choose to preserve my sanity over my dignity. Besides, if it comes to that, I may be able to chop off my arm and reattach it later. I am that desperate. The bracer is frigid against my skin, and I can feel something dormant in the pattern of gold and stones that decorate it. Let us go then. Chapter 8. We step outside and something stops me in my tracks. The night, in all its glory. The oppressive heat of deep southern summer days has cooled down a bit. Life in all its forms has come out to enjoy the small respite. I smell water from the sea and from the marshes, life in the trees and the scent of humanity. The wood smoke and the cooking meats, the alcohol and the sweat, and under that, all this vitality. I hear people and hunting things. Insects. Some distant music. Men and women dancing, drinking, and singing their worries away. Tomorrow, news of capricious floods devastating fields and villages may come, as they do every summer, but for now, they forget. I look at the many roofs and the burning lamps, and above it, the sky. There are so many colors, so many patterns I had never noticed before. The Milky Way slashes the sky like the thrown brush of an irate painter. At the center of this incredible vista looms the strange eye I first saw. Just as I look at it, it stares right back, and I can once again feel an alien presence. It does not threaten nor promises, it does not even judge. It just watches quietly. Perhaps I have somewhat come to terms with my new nature because I find it soothing. Even the ever-present thirst takes a place in the background. An insistent pull on my sleeve wakes me up from my reverie. I expected anger from Batuan, but he only displays patient amusement. I always wondered how your kind sees it. You all look like it contains a Fabergé egg, or a tarantula. You know of what we see? The eye. Lady Moore mentioned it. She calls it the demon's gaze. It is not a demon, but a silent watcher. Batuan flinches. What? Lord Nirari used the exact same term. I guess his blood runs true, eh? He sighs. They say every vampire who looks up sees the eye staring right at them. Scary stuff. I have nothing to reply to that. We walk towards the docks and pass by the brand new Spanish buildings around the View Carré. The bells of the St. Louis Cathedral grate my ears. It is midnight. Is something the matter, Ariane? I walked here, not a month ago. In that exact same street. Ah, I forgot. I am not used to working with one so young. We will have to adapt, lest you are recognized. You make it sound like you are an old man. As it turns out, he is. Baudouin is Lady Moore's human servant. They are bound together, and so long as she lives, so does he. Only masters can bind someone so. I learn more useful facts from him in 30 minutes than I ever did from that slovenly whore. Clan Lancaster rules most of the English part of New Orleans, while Clan Yukon wormed its way into the Creole population. Clan Cadiz only has a nominal presence. The Roland are all in Baton Rouge. What is left of them is, anyway. Clan Lancaster is renowned for its business acumen and recruits heavily from rich families, with whom they are constantly at war. Clan Lancaster makes good money from the trade of slaves and foodstuff. Most of the profits are paid as a tithe to the main house in England. I am sure this vexes Moore to no end. Mages are another part of the magical population. Baudouin informs me that he will give me a more detailed explanation of the global magic community if I prove myself a trusted associate. He knows much about vampires. Fledglings apparently need more blood just to function. Physical exertion consumes a tremendous amount of energy and is discouraged during the first 2 years. In fact, it appears that fledglings need to be reared for quite some time before they are able to enter society once more. The youngest of us are either feral or apathetic. There is no in-between. I seem to be the exception, though I am not sure why. Master is not known for siring spawns of notable intellect. Baudouin learned about my confrontation in Jimenez's training room. I am quite fast for a newborn, but also very fragile and physically weak. This is good to know. Master is very old, and I had hoped that it would make me stronger, but it seems life does not work this way. Vampires dislike firearms, bows, and crossbows because those are peasant weapons. Many powerful vampires predate the use of gunpowder. This is yet another sign of profound arrogance and imbecility to me until I remember Master and Gaspard moving faster than even I could perceive. Perhaps this makes the use of ranged weapons pointless among us. I still see no reason not to use it on humans. Speaking of humans, the battle priests are members of the Order of Gabriel. They are dedicated to the extermination of all magical beings. They also despise the Irish, the Mexicans, the Jews, the poor, and women. Truly, a charming lot. Quickly, we reach the warehouse and I halt Baudouin before we come in sight. Those streets are silent but for laughter coming from our destination. I drag him through a nearby alley and approach the target from the side. It looks more like a barn than anything else. It is made from a dark wood that smells faintly of rot and is large enough to hide a sloop. I move my befuddled companion towards the entrance, but stop before turning the corner and getting in view of the door. This is where the laughter is the loudest. I track a ray of light to a small hole in a plank. It is too small to see through, Ariane, says Baudouin with derision. I stare him in the eye, place my clawed index against the opening and push. The damaged wood bends and breaks under the sharp nail, and my finger digs completely. The raucous conversations mask the small noise I made. I did not break eye contact. Baudouin pales a bit, even though he must have seen more impressive displays of strength during his many years of service. I successfully hide my relief that the wood yielded. It would have been quite embarrassing otherwise. I look in. Dull oil lamps cast a yellow blaze on a dozen men and women in the midst of a drunken revel. They are all young and flushed with heat and vitality. The girls show just a bit too much skin than their parents would allow. The men's smiles have a wolfish quality. The thirst wakes up from its slumber. Greedy thing, you were already fed once tonight. Like a princeling on his throne, a dashing young man in an open leather vest, brown pants, and boots sits at the forefront. He has black hair, an opera pirate beard, and dreamy gray eyes. He currently holds on his lap a cute blonde woman in trousers whose generous bust is revealed by ample cleavage. A tall and strong bearded man stands close with a wary eye on the door. There is no doubt in my mind that the rakish lad is Mr. Billamain, the person I will have to convince. His pretentious mannerism and coxer air strike a nerve in me and I take an instant dislike to him. I also discover another interesting fact about myself. While I used to judge group dynamics around power play and cliques, what I notice now is entirely focused on hunting. This is a herd. It is a dominant male, a dominant female, and a powerful beta. I see who will fight and who will flee. I see who I can isolate easily and who the easiest prey is. The runt of the group is a mousy girl with heavy glasses who stares fixedly at dear Andre with what Papa would call des yeux crapauds mort d'amour. Eyes of the toad dying of love. Poor thing. I know better than most what infatuation can do when one's chosen's heart is as black as tar. Baudouin, find out who I cannot touch. With his help, I identify 3 men and 2 women whose disappearance would cause an uproar. Andre's second and the blonde woman are not among them. Excellent. A plan starts to take form. How much time do I have? Until the next delivery arrives, that would be 3 days from now. That should be more than enough, I reply and walk to the doors. There is no sentry outside, which does not surprise me. Andre is quite confident in the protection his name grants him. I open the door in silence and enter peacefully. I initially believed that the princeling had chosen this place because he wanted to ransom its content, but I may have overestimated him. The smell of overwrought sex is pungent in here. The dark corners of the warehouse provided the group with long-awaited intimacy. I am confident that some of the ladies present will regret their decisions in a few months when the consequences grow too big to be hidden from their parents. The bearded man is the first to see me and he takes out a cudgel, only to stop in his tracks when he notices my appearance. Gradually, the assembly falls silent as they realize the presence of an intruder until Andre is forced to turn his attention away from the blonde woman's left nipple to address this new development. The hussy has the audacity to look at me with rage as she readjusts her top, furious about the interruption. Well well well. Says the imbecile as the men chuckle. Are you lost, sweet thing? No, you are. This is a warehouse, not a club. Anger flashes in the man's eye. Would you kindly leave? My employer needs this place. The blonde woman whispers something in his ear with a sadistic smile and he nods. Some of the boys start jeering and complimenting my backside. The temptation to shred them all and bathe in their viscera grows by the minute, yet I successfully resist it. Why don't you stay a while and play a few games? Then we will consider your proposal. I will take this as a no and shall return tomorrow to see if you have changed your mind. I turn around to leave. Not so fast. I reach the door. Hey, you slut. George, get her. When George steps out, I am already gone. Now they know what their sin is, I just need to hand the punishment. So, what did you learn today, little sister? I sip slowly from the glass of water and try my best to ignore the cookie jar atop the kitchen counter. The familiar room is bathed in the reddish light of late afternoon. A stew slowly boils in the hearth. We learn about anatomy and the various functions of organs. Big brother Achilles coughs. What do women need to know about such things? Women produce superior nurses and doctors. Nonsense. Well, I remember when cousin Sylvie lost her water on the carriage Montfort, and only one of us panicked, no? Alright, I guess. So, tell me about organs. Well, there is for example, the liver. It cleanses the blood and it produces bile which is necessary for digestion. Is that so? And where is the liver situated? It's in the chest. Right side. Around here? I reply while pointing a finger at the middle of my chest, to the right. No. A bit higher. Well, let's find it together. Wait, what? I am bound spread eagle on the table now. My chest is bare. What is happening? Achilles is approaching me with a sharpened pick. Wait, no, please. Please don't. Achilles. It's for your own good, sister, that way you'll remember for sure. There it is. There. We found it on the first try. Now, if you want to reach above your station to become a doctor, you can. No, please, stop. It hurts. Ah, yes, but it will not kill you, as you are an abomination now. Good news, sister. And now, the pancreas. There. No, please. Please. I take a deep breath and release it. What an unpleasant nightmare. My name is Ariane, I am my own. I will live, I will go home. I take another calming breath as the phantom pain of cold blades in my stomach makes me wince. I may no longer sweat, nor does my skin peel, but there is still a scent to my body. It is not entirely unpleasant, I suppose, but I will have to take a bath later when I return from the warehouse. Yesterday was strangely gratifying. I am already dressed when a new servant knocks on my door. Joan is resting and this one lacks courage. I suppose I can hardly blame her when I almost killed her predecessor. I know where I need to go. You may leave. I walk to the back of the property and the pens. There are a few isolated cages where the Lancasters stow the problematic cattle. Good evening, Blanche. Mistress Ariane. Please let me out. I promise I won't. I bring the blonde woman closer to me and hug her tight. After a night of sex with the princeling and day out in the sweltering heat, she smells quite ripe. Her trousers are sticky with perspiration. I lick the 2 white scars on her neck, and she shivers with pleasure. I bite. I did not truly taste her yesterday, only marked her. It takes all my self-control not to kill her on the spot. It would be so easy. I wouldn't even be blamed. Something stops me, a sense of ownership. Blanche is my first cattle. Or at least she will be after a few more bites. It would just feel wasteful. I lick the wound clean and the thirst recedes in the background of my mind, like a patient tiger. Of course, Blanche, you know I only do this for your own good. Yes, mistress, I'm so sorry, we were just playing. I will tell André and he will understand, he is a good man. After you explain the situation to him, he will surely agree to leave. Naturally. I reply, smiling. I let my captive clean herself a bit in a water barrel as we wouldn't want to be stopped by the militia simply because of the smell. Before we set out, I stopped by Baudouin's office. Come in. Ah, Ariane, how may I assist? First, you could stop staring at my bottom every time I turn to close the door. I fear it is too late for me to amend my behavior, young one. You old pervert. In any case, I should return to the warehouse tonight and have them leave. What if they refuse? They will not. Baudouin raises a dubious brow but gives me leave to go, as well as the small knife I requested. I walk through the streets of New Orleans in a simple dress and a conservative hat, courtesy of Baudouin. I also carry the bracer in a leather satchel. The cunning man mentioned it yesterday as we were walking back, and he was right. Clothes and behavior really allow one to blend in. I change the way I walk to appear less confident by slightly bending my back, lowering my head and affecting a subdued expression. Soon, I fade in the background. Just another maid on an errand, nothing to see and no one to notice. It is a different sort of magic, the art of street artists and con men. The tricks of the mind. I find them exhilarating. We reach the warehouse quickly. There is no merriment tonight. The place is deadly silent, but not deserted. André is living in an illusion of his own making. His parents are feared and protect him, his friends are rich and admire him. Daughters of respectable families fall for his wealth and good looks and spread their legs for his personal enjoyment. He is living the life. Yesterday he founded the seat of his power in some fat merchant's warehouse. In his mind, they would have fun for a while then leave after being paid off, preferably before the place turns too rank. The first step towards the creation of his own criminal empire, perhaps. Then I came. Blanche stepped out at some point during the night to attend to some natural needs, with George keeping an eye out. I took him out with a small bite and kidnapped the girl. Bites make everyone pliable, if only for a while. I knock on the door and receive no answer. I can smell people inside. They expected me to return after yesterday's message. I need them out. Fending off an ambush at this stage would be tedious. Mistress? I am sorry, Blanche. I step back from the gate and grab her, then I break one of her fingers. What a beautiful voice she has. As expected, the door bursts open and what is left of the gang spills out in the streets with Andre at the head. Only 5 of them left. Oh man. This is truly pathetic. I force Blanche on her knees and grab her hair while she nurses her hand. Her quiet sobs are the only thing disturbing the silence. I appreciate the moment. I find it fascinating that real life would match fiction so deliciously. Here we stand, at the end of Act 3. The male lead bristles with rage while his loved one bemoans her fate. The trusty second's eyes grow wide at the sight of me. The seeds of the plot are ready to germinate and their battered group ready to implode. I shiver in pleasure. I am the playwright and I already know how it all ends, with my victory. Release her immediately. Or else. Yesterday, they would have rushed me with their eyes full of bloodlust. Tonight, they're weary and broken. I took out their princess. She sits on the ground in front of me in defeat, and after one day of search, they failed to find her, to rescue her. Hours of rageful and enthusiastic inquiries, then the feeling of powerlessness. Reality came knocking and they didn't like it. They have already suffered the casualties of those who were there for the guilty pleasures and banter, but find street fighting and kidnappings too pedestrian. It is already over. Before Andre takes a step forward, I remove the knife from my satchel and apply the blade against Blanche's tender neck, hard enough to draw blood. No, mistress, please. I beg you. It is too much for the one remaining noble. He drops his saber and runs away. This leaves Andre, George and 2 henchmen. Laughable. You will pay for this, you whore. You have no idea who you are messing with. Andre Villemain, son of Gauthier Villemain and Alice Wintraub. W.H. What? We know who you are, we know who your parents are, and we know what you have been up to. You came here high on pride and arrogance, thinking yourself untouchable. You thought wrong. Ah, but before we continue, this is a private conversation. The 2 of you? Leave us. The 2 henchmen look at each other and decide that it is not worth it. Now, only George and Andre remain. If you know my parents, then you should know that you have messed with the wrong man. Your parents disavowed your actions, Andre. They will not lift a finger. Even you are not worth the war with us. You lie. As long as you draw breath, Andre, they will not retaliate. This means that everything you own and everyone you know is fair game, starting with Blanche here. I move the knife just enough to elicit a cry of pain. No, please wait. Wait. I understand, all right? Let us all calm down. I will do it. I'll just leave. Hell, I will even compensate you for the damage. Just please, let her go. Oh. He cares more than I expected. A reasonable proposal. Sadly, it will not suffice. George. Yes? I do. Something. It is like drawing on a rope that is made of beads. The harder I pull and the more frayed my control grows. Still, a link is made. The bites I made yesterday sank something in their souls, and now I have limited control over them. For Andre's own good, bring him to me. What? Very well, mistress. George punches Andre, who collapses on the ground like a doll with its strings cut. He takes the man in a gentle hold and brings him closer. I can feel him fight me, but my request is reasonable so far, and George is a natural follower. The cold part of me enjoys itself, and I finally understand those Lancaster inbred. This is entertaining. Understand, young Andre, that there is more to the night than you could ever imagine. We can tolerate joyrides and brash statements, but this time you went too far. I am going to have to leave you with a reminder. I place the tip of the blade against the edge of his eye socket and carve downward. This will scar nicely, and since I am feeling generous, he can even keep the eye. Wait. What are you? No. After I am finished, I calmly pocket the blade and stand up. And with this, we are done. I say as he sobs and grabs his carved cheek. My hold on George just broke, and Blanche's loyalty is tenuous despite the 2 bites. If I go any further, I will have to shed more blood than I planned. I expect the place to be cleared tonight. Farewell. I walk away. I can feel the tether that binds the two humans to me evaporate like morning dew with this symbolic gesture. I do not want to keep them with me, for the simple reason that they will be used as leverage by Melusan and the others. Any possession I gather must remain hidden, or it must be intangible, like status. I will not let her use them against me. As soon as I am out of view, I hurry to the place where Baduin and I first spied on the warehouse. You might as well come out. Smiling, the man himself walks out from a recess with his arms raised in mock surrender. I think a human could have passed him by 1,000 times without ever noticing him. I hope you do not take this as a sign of distrust. I sneer. And if I had turned the street red, Baduin, what would you have done? Scream for the... I gasp as I am interrupted by a sudden and violent pain. It shakes my bones and rattles my teeth and leaves me trembling after a brief instant. What? What happened? I am sorry, Ariane, he says as he shows a golden band around his wrist. The tracking bracer can also be used to inflict pain and disable its victim, and before you use that vampire alacrity of yours, know that the bracer will punish you, should you touch me. I hiss softly. What did I expect? That a clan full of liars and scoundrels would let me out of their house without a means to control me? Do not be too cross, little one. I will make it up to you. How? Before we begin, I have to ask. Why did you wait one day? Why the kidnapping? You want to know the reason behind my plans? Yes, I am assessing you as a potential long-term associate. I need someone to replace Agate, if only temporarily. Harold and Wilburn are ill-suited to tasks that require a brain. As Lady Moore's human servant, I could shield you from most of Melusan's petty vengeance should you take that role. Baduin's expression turns to scorn at the mention of the other vampires. I am reminded that under his unsavory appearance, he hides a keen intellect. Also unsavory. I have the mistrust when running day-to-day affairs. So long I guarantee that you are better used solving problems than entertaining that arrogant twit, she will leave you be. I consider his words for a moment. Getting out means the Cadiz can contact me more easily when the time comes. Can you truly protect me from Melusan? She does not strike me as one who easily admits defeat. She could just abuse you until you change your mind. When you realized I hurt you, how close were you to striking me down? Baduin is right. The predatory part of me, the part that always pushes me to violence, was strangely silent. Vampires do not attack human servants directly unless they are desperate or unhinged. It is a rule that is engraved into your kind's minds from the day you wake up again. Your very instincts will try to stop you. He is right. I was not tempted to retaliate. How tainted has my mind become? Is it still even my own? Melusan shall not harm me, and she knows the price of annoying the mistress too much. Now, Ariane, do we have an understanding? I shall not do anything that would rob me of the little dignity I have left. I hope we are clear on this, Baduin. Of course, Ariane, he smirks. I would not force you to turn tricks. I have other agents for that. I hiss again, but my heart is not into it. Well? I sigh. It costs me little to explain my actions. This group was fractured from the start. The leader had 3 associates with a poor background. The rest were scions of affluent families playing rogue. It was easy to make them confront the reality of the night. After that the mood was ruined, so to speak, and I just had to pick the pieces. I see, and you judged that the best way to achieve this, to collapse their house of cards, was to abduct one of their members? Perhaps not the best, but certainly the most expedient. Few things match kidnapping as a wake-up call. Not to mention that I wanted a snack. He laughs with abandon. Then, walk with me. As we reach the brighter lights around the view carré, Baduin starts in a soft voice. You are nothing like I expected, you know? How so? I have seen many fledglings being reborn to this world. Most start off as mindless beasts, barely more than automatons. It is only after some time that they regain some semblance of humanity. You started as your old self and are now becoming more and more like a vampire. Surely, my circumstances are not unique. They are not. However, it is still quite rare. I cannot think of anyone who was quite so alive as you were when I first saw you. I would prefer not to be reminded of this moment. He chuckles. There's also the issue with you being so weak. Lord Nirari managed to foster spawns that would go toe-to-toe with night squads in only a few years. Give me some time. He shakes his head. No, Ariane, I can already tell that you will not match this development speed. You are faster than most fledglings, and some courtiers, but your strength is almost human. I wonder how I can become more powerful. If I could be fast enough to dodge Melusan's dark powers and then grab her by the ankle and... I spent some time imagining the red-haired harridan slamming into walls until we reached the outskirts of the city. I then realized something. Baduin. Yes? You said you used a god A for this kind of work? Indeed. His betrayal has caused quite a few problems, as you can imagine. Did you expect his treachery? No. I was stupefied when he found his spine. You see, a god A is centuries old. He has suffered abuse at the hands of the Lancasters for longer than I was alive. Perhaps Melusan sent him over the edge. Baduin's laugh causes a few late revelers to turn. Ah yes, I can believe that. You see, Agade was part of a horde of warriors from the east who invaded Hungary. He made the mistake of hunting a local lord, and the vengeance was what you guessed. Agade lacks something. He has never reached the rank of master, and he never will, if he still lives. Can lords figure out the best candidates for new spawns? If some do, they keep it secret. Some clans heavily recruit mages as they keep some of their powers, but for the rest, I do not know. I do not know what makes one vampire much better than another. I see. When we reach the house, a servant hurries inside, and a few moments later, Melusan gets out the door like a devil out of a box. It occurs to me that I failed to warn her that I would not attend her circus act of a lesson. Oops. She and Baduin stare at each other, and a silent message must have been passed, for soon Melusan retreats. As the door shuts, I catch a glimpse of her face. It is twisted by the blackest of rage. Your move, witch. Chapter 9. A leafy canopy covers the forest ground in shadows. I dart around trunks as large as carriages, doing my best to avoid the sunlight that stabs through here and there. The coverage is not perfect, and my skin is already covered in blisters. The cruel rays go straight through clothes as if they were not there. Ah! I scream and hiss, as yet another gust of wind moves branches, and I am exposed to the cruel touch. You should give up. You are only delaying the inevitable. I want to make him shut up, but he stands in the light, mocking me. Here, he looks human and regal with his thick brown beard and noble posture, a true king of old. Your peers reject you. The humans reject you. Even the sun itself wants you gone from this world. I dodge and sprint. Time is running out. The sun is already going down. The shadows lengthen. The nail that sticks out gets nailed down. After all, you are only prolonging your suffering. I need to keep going. I just have to reach the house. I will be safe inside. You think your family will welcome you? Idiot. You are not Rianne, though you stole her name for yourself. She died that night, alone and broken. You are just the final insult to her memory. You lie. I am me. How can you be so sure? Have you seen yourself in a mirror? The sun is closing to the horizon, but I will never survive to twilight. The forest parts to expose me. At the last moment, I dive behind the tree and feel the bark to my back. The murderous rays start to twist around the trunk, and I yell when they reach the edges of my arm. You will forever be a pariah, Spawn, no matter how much you beg or bow. I start screaming. Several voices join the chorus calling me an outsider. Then there is only fiery death. I awake and quickly repeat the now familiar sentence. I have been here for 2 months. 2 months of playing thug and errand girl. I am even building a bit of a reputation. I wonder why I have so many nightmares, and if the others do as well. Unfortunately, I would sooner stab myself in the foot with a rusty meat skewer than share this detail with anyone here. My questions will therefore remain unanswered, for now. The phantom pain coursing through my body ruins my meditation. I wish I could cry, but this is a function of the body that I find myself unable to force. I endure the memory of burning to a crisp for only a minute before it is replaced by a more powerful imperative. I wonder if older vampires treat the thirst as an old friend, or if they are all driven mad by it. Bauduin confirmed that fledglings consume more, especially the very young ones. I can only hope that I maintain a healthy self-control, at least long enough to grow out of infancy. Like every night, I take the time to bathe and dress properly. I battle the thirst with every bit of self-control I can muster to take the time to care for myself and my appearance. I even bought a comb. After a quick detour by the cages, I reach Bauduin's office. "Ah, Ariane. Come in, come in. Good evening. I am ready for the meeting." "Ah yes, well, unfortunately, you will not be attending." I freeze immediately. During my time here, I took my role as a spy quite seriously. I have listed all their warehouses, their banks, and business partners. Every key ally, every lie and every weakness I have religiously catalogued. A sentence overheard, a confidential document left lying around, an unexpected visit, every activity is an opportunity to discover more. I have made reports that I have hidden well. If they fall in the hands of the Cadiz, they will be able to strike those degenerates down with deadly accuracy. Hit them where it hurts the most, their pride, and their wallets. Has Bauduin discovered my stratagems? I thought I was careful. I even have an escape kit ready, hidden under the destroyed belfry of a derelict church. I found the irony delicious. Bauduin eyes me nervously. He does not know. He assumes I am mortally offended. This is not a punishment, in fact, I have something of a reward for you. Today, we had a situation. One of our whores made the unfortunate decision to laugh at a customer's privates. On Dolores Street? No, the Red Veil, unfortunately. Ah. This is the Lancasters' high-end brothel, and that means the offended party is rich and powerful. The issue is that the man, a Simon Hanley, took justice in his own hands and carved her up. That will not do. He is in his estate now, with half a dozen guards. You expect me to go there and intimidate him? No, Ariane, I expect you to kill him. He made some very public statements and demanded reparations. I cannot let this stand. How do you want this done? Do what you want. I will burn down the house when you are finished. The Merlish knows to avoid this place tonight. Can't I get a gun this time? No, Ariane, my opinion hasn't changed. We do not use guns. Neanderthals. I harumph, then make for the exit. Then I will be on my way. Do enjoy yourself. As I exit the office, my eyes are inevitably drawn by a figure going down the stairs. Lady Moore does not belong here. This land is young and rakish. Its wealth is stolen from native tribes and torn from the earth by the labor of countless slaves, brought here against their wills in floating coffins. It is no place for complicated intrigue and veiled threats, at least, not yet. Her appearance reflects this. Even her dress is too warm for the suffocating weather. She ignores me and soon crosses the threshold, followed by a smug Melusan and Lamberty Everboard. They will attend a meeting with the representative of Clan Ekon about some flesh market issue. I should have been there as muscle. It would have been an opportunity to meet them and perhaps know what the Cadiz have been up to. Well, there is always our next time. I go back to my room to get changed and don a provocative attire with a shawl to hide my shoulders. Now I look like a streetwalker. If Papa would see me. No. I must wear this as an armor. My appearance is both a weapon and a bait. Simon Henley expects some reparation from a bordello, and this is what he will see, a suitable emissary. I will preserve my dignity according to my own rules, and clothes are no longer a concern. I leave the house with the bracer in a heavy bag, keeping to well-lit streets. I have enough stashed away to run for a while with what I picked during my errands. The problem is that I would be hunted down and eliminated even without the bracer. I need a clean escape. Since we are going to an expensive side of town and a woman alone would draw unneeded attention, a carriage has been made available. As we drive on, I am for once thankful for my cold body. Without it, the enclosed space would have been stifling. After a quarter hour or so, we stop in front of a manor and the carriage leaves. The Victorian-style house is without much embellishment, but the garden is impeccably maintained. Papa always said that understated signs of wealth are the mark of good breeding, and I have trouble reconciling the tasteful residence with the image of a man who would disfigure a whore because she laughed at his manhood. Perhaps this was built and maintained by his father. I cross the deserted entrance and arrive in front of a pair of wooden doors. At this time of the night, there should be lights and servants about, but the place is suspiciously silent. I find myself growing wary. I knock on the door and it opens immediately. A rough-looking man with a scowl inspects me in silence. I curtsy. They are expecting me, it seems. With a grunt, the man invites me in. This is it. I could start killing right away, but something stops me. The guard is armed with a truncheon and no other visible weapon. He is no danger to me. Something else is. Just like vampires have a cold aura, I feel something bright and colorful, and it comes from deeper into the house. I am curious. What could it possibly be? I follow the guard into a modest ballroom covered with a plush carpet. Large windows adorn the wall opposite the entrance, and there is only one door, the one I came from. On my left, a few seats have been gathered and 4 hard men stop their game of cards to take a gander at the newcomer. On my right, next to a piano of good make, stands the master of the house. He sits atop a leather throne that was brought here for the occasion. A flagon of spirits rests on a small coffee table to his side, and next to him stands a bodyguard who immediately captivates me. He is tall and muscular with a trimmed beard and wears on him enough weapons to take over a small town. I count no less than 2 pistols and 7 daggers at first glance. He even wears a helmet, indoors, like some uncouth savage. The colorful aura comes from him. Our eyes meet and he gives me the most peculiar of smiles. "Why don't you take a seat?" asks Simon Hanley, pointing to a modest chair in front of him. He is dressed in an expensive shirt and jacket that do little to hide his gut. His pale skin is the worm flesh white of people who do not leave their house during the day. It is also covered in clammy perspiration. His gray eyes do not meet mine. He is scared out of his mind. Everything is wrong. The thugs should be leering or indifferent, not wary. Henley should be smug and arrogant, not terrified. The last man does not belong here. My instincts and intellect unite in the firm belief that this is a trap. Worse, the bodyguard probably knows what I am and he is convinced he can take me on. I remember the followers of Gabriel assaulting the keep. They, too, had a plethora of arms and the training to use it. They did not have an aura. This man is a midge. If I take this seat, I am dead, again. This will not happen. I step towards it and kick it into the pair. The midge easily dodges, but Henley takes it in the face and collapses with a muffled scream. I move back, and not 1 second too soon. Seal. A white light erupts in a circle where the chair used to be and misses me by a hair. The room erupts in chaos and yells. The midge takes out a gun and fires it at me. I finish my movement by falling on the floor. The bullet misses me. I end up at the feet of a stupefied guard. I stand up and claw his throat in one movement. The geyser of blood distracts the other 3. His blood stinks. There is something wrong with it. I hiss and grab a second guard to use a shield. An instant later something bites into my side. What? I stare down in disbelief. There is a large gash on my waist. The dress is torn apart to reveal shredded flesh seeping dark red blood. The man I used as a shield screams, dying. The midge shot his own ally. Something pings on the floor and I instinctively look at it just as it detonates. A thunderous explosion, and a white light blind me, deafen me. I drop the man to grab my maimed eyes. Hurt, need to escape. Can't see. Behind me, cover. I move backwards and grab the edge of the poker table. With a grunt, I flip it and jump behind. I move to the side as something roars. Someone bumps against me and falls. I find a shoulder, a throat. I slash it open. The blood smells wrong again. The bottle of wine that was on the table smells wrong too. Something they drank. I can hear better now, but my eyes still hurt. There are windows. Escape. I grab a body and blindly rush to the wall. Confined. Can break through. None of that. Seal. Something bumps against me. It does not hurt, but it pushes me back with incredible strength. I crash against the table and it breaks under me. A shard stabs into my back. It hurts. So thirsty. Can't stay here. I crawl away from the midge. Waist hurt. Back hurt. Bleeding. Need blood, but it all smells wrong. Ah, I can finally see again. I turn myself as a throwing knife whistles past my shoulder and buries itself in the carpet. Finally, a decent weapon. I remove the shard of wood in my back. It did not go deep. The midge throws more daggers and once more I use bodies and the table to dodge and block. I grab one blade in each hand, then I throw a third one at him. It pings against his armor. The man is still smiling, he unsheathes a saber and a short blade and rushes me. I manage to stand up to meet him in the middle of the room. I realize very soon that this was a mistake. I may be faster than the midge, but in everything else, he has the advantage. His reach is longer, and his technique superior. He deflects my strikes with precise and conservative movement. I am completely outmatched. Soon, I have a new long gash in my wrist, and I drop a blade. I cannot move my hand. I am not healing at all, and I am so very thirsty. I cannot get out. The pain becomes too much. I have one last quick move in me, but after that, I shall be helpless. I have to make it count and dash. What is that delicious smell? Blood. It comes from Henley. I need to dash. Fire whip. A red snake twists around my useless hand. My flesh immediately starts to smolder. I scream in agony and lash out with the last knife I have. Fortunately, whatever made his blade so painful also breaks the spell. I collapse on the ground shrieking. I can't stay there, I need to move, but it hurts so much. Ah, that backlash was nasty. You cunning bitch. Though I must say, I am rather disappointed. With all the talks about vampires being century-old apex predators, I was really looking forward to a good fight. Yet here you are, a brute relying on her speed rather than technique. Sloppy, and pathetic. Predator says. Yes, viable plan. Implement. Well, guess I have to find a knight next. Now, I was told that piercing the heart will incapacitate your kind. At least I can put that theory to the test. Yes, pray, come closer. I dare say killing that werewolf turned out to be more arg. I move. I stay low, grab a knife and bury it behind the knee. Weak point. Now spring up his back, grab around with my claws. Pulse. Something propels me backward and I smash into the coffee table and Henley's inanimate body. Ah, you bitch. Ah, heal. Heal. Damn it. So delicious. You'll pay for this. I was going to make it quick, but now I think I'll burn you alive. Ah. Shit. Just you wait. I am feeding from Henley, my back to the midge when something happens. I can feel all of my fangs pull. The strength I draw multiplies tenfold, 100-fold. This time there is no bliss. This time, there is only life, and the strength I need to survive. This time I do not feed. I devour. It takes less than 4 seconds for Henley to die. As the last of his life force is torn away from his body, I feel a temporary burst of power. The pain is still there, as is the thirst. It just does not matter so much anymore. So this man is a hunter? He thinks I am game? I am no beast. I am a vampire. I pull myself up and find the midge applying bandages to his wounded leg. His disbelief turns to horror at the sight of my face. Blood is still dripping. I give a ghastly smile. Then I throw the corpse at him. I put my hips into it and the body flies. The midge swears and ducks. I jump and fly with claws forward. I crash against him and send him on his back. I claw and lash, trying to reach his face. His armored bracers stand in the way, but I manage to score hits in unprotected places. She-dash. None of that. I use one hand to push both of his arms towards me and stab a finger in his cheek. I rake his face. Blood flows. Still smells wrong. I am weakening. I can feel him struggling to get something. I can't fight much longer. My strength is already waning. He pulls something that roars. I feel cold punching through my stomach. I ignore the armed hand and deflect the other. I put one thumb against his eye and push. With a ghastly crunch, the eyes pop and I bury my fingers to the hilt in his skull. Fluid splurts on my face. The blood in them is. It smells horrible, but there is so much power in there. It is fading quickly. I bite deep and take a swallow. The blood is potent. It is also laced with something that ravages my throat. The balance is barely in favor of the blood. I punch his face, once, twice, 3 times. The pain catches up to me and I collapse on the mangled corpse. Everything hurts. I have not felt this bad since my death. Then, all feelings fade. I feel strange. Pain is a distant thing and so is the thirst. I expect it to turn into a ravening beast, but it appears that I am, in fact, sated. Wounded, but sated. I can only draw strength from the red nectar so fast. The edge of my vision is growing darker and I remember. This is what dying was like, back when it happened the first time. The sensation of slipping, of letting go. Namdi-doo, siest en Kakmar. Ah. I remember now, we only killed 3 of the 4 guards, the mage and I am. Monster. Damon. The last one must have cowered in some corner. I do not blame him. He is growing a spine now, though. He took a knife. He is getting closer. I absolutely cannot move. I am. So cold. Slumber calls to me. I could just close my eyes and forget, and yet dying is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Well, twice in my case. I would rather not miss it. And now somebody knocks on the ballroom's door. The guard squeals and jumps like a scalded maid. Heh? A black woman walks in. A vampire. She is dressed in leather pants and a tight white shirt. How unladylike, although to be fair, she is not bearing her midriff to the world like I am. Well, color me impressed, she says with a feigned smile. Tobe continued, thanks for listening.